What up, fuck mothers? This is Ren.
And this is Casey.
And this is All Walks of Film.
We just saw Chappie, and we're gonna spoil it, and there are a lot of spoilers in this, so if the trailer hasn't spoiled it for you yet, then please just go ahead and shut this off.
Yeah, the trailer spoiled it for me, so...
I literally sat in the theater with my fingers in my ear going, la 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 la, I don't see anything, I don't hear anything when that trailer came on, so I was spared.
Yeah. But, you know, it was short circuit, basically.
Yeah, it was like Short Circuit 1 and 2 meets Terminator 1 and 2 in a movie.
Yeah.
In South Africa. And that was the movie.
Would die Antwoord.
We were reading over some of the criticism against the movie, and it kind of sounded like a lot of the critical backlash against this movie, in my opinion, really has more to do with Ninja and Yolandi being in the movie. You know, musical personality sort of being way too big for this movie to handle.
Yeah, their personality was a little much.
Little much.
Yeah, and I mean, even in the trailer, I thought the "Your name's Chappie" was kind of annoying, so...
I think everybody did, though. It was bad.
Yeah.
But also there was so much product placement for them throughout the movie with all of the music, like all the singing music that they used that wasn't Hans Zimmer. You're saying was all their stuff. They did a lot of product placement for themselves on their t-shirts.
It's one thing if a band or band members play a role in the movie, but they were actually playing in another version of themselves without even really changing anything. It was the band, except they were like gangsters, but they were still the band. It was weird.
You mentioned that you had some issues with this film because there were tonally it was inconsistent, and I really think it comes down to Yolandi and Ninja's characters were written to be a lot darker and hardcore than the actors could really ever hope to pull off.
Yeah. And surprisingly, I found Yolandi a lot more tolerable than Ninja.
Really?
As a character.
I just remember the scene where Chappie and Yolandi are in bed together and she's reading him a bedtime story and she's like, this is so corny.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, a lot of this movie is like pitched to an audience that can't even watch the movie.
Yeah, until like the last act of the movie, I seriously was like, except for the language, you could show this to a kid. It's a good kids film.
Except.
But then the third act happened, and I was like, whoa, that's intense for a grown-up film.
At the very beginning, when they literally almost like a copy and paste of the opening of District 9.
Yeah, I thought that too.
There was some violence and blood.
There was some, but it was... Why include the documentary thing when you're really only going to have it in the beginning and the end? Like, I thought he was gonna... The reason why he did the documentary thing was because there was a lot of criticism of, oh, well, the documentary thing in District 9 was really interesting, but it wasn't handled exactly right. So I thought he was going to try to do it better, but he actually did it way less than he did in District 9.
Yeah,
which is strange.
I thought the social commentary was definitely less in this movie than it has been in the past two films, which some people would see as good, even though the reviews, say otherwise.
We've read a review that said that there was nothing to think about in this movie, and that is some bullshit, because there are a lot of very strong, very overt themes and ideas that Neill Blomkamp is trying to get across in this film that do give you a lot to think about.
Yeah, well,
it's also kind of too obvious for a critic to miss, I think.
I think the social commentary is oftentimes overlooked because of how simple the story is presented.
Well, they did a lot of just like adding plot elements and keeping it going. They could have actually made this plot much simpler, but I was okay because each plot element sort of lent something to the commentary, if that makes sense.
It does.
So even though it didn't work for the plot, it worked for the message of the film. But that's bad that it didn't work for the plot or the characters. But just to sort of subvert, because it sounds like I didn't like this movie. I like this movie very, very much, and it seems like I liked it a lot more than you did.
Yeah, I like the movie. I thought Die Antwoord was a little too much.
They were too
for the
much.
movie.
I just sort of kind of accepted that they were there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like them, but I just sort of accepted it, I guess.
I like the character of Chappie. I thought he was very good.
I liked Chappie a lot. I liked America. Out of the whole gang, he was my favorite. Because he was more realistic and just playing it cool than Ninja or Yolandi. And I liked Dion. And Hugh Jackman's character was written kind of poorly, but Hugh Jackman's performance was very good.
Yeah, I think he added a lot of things to his role that gave his character a little bit more depth.
Yes.
Like his religious aspect, which they didn't overdo, which is usually what they do in sci-fi movies. Like,
there were
have you seen The Sixth
references. Well, there were 4 references to his religion in the whole movie. There was "Let's go to church sometime," which was written into the script. There was the scene where he crossed himself, which was most likely a decision from the actor or the director. He wore a crucifix, which came down to production design or costume design. And at one point, he called Chappie godless, which was also written into the script. So it was definitely conscious.
No.
It was a conscious decision to make his character religious, but 4 very small things.
No.
Like, if people are listening to this and it's just like, wait, he was religious? I didn't get that. It was subtle. It was very subtle.
No.
You didn't
I liked it.
Me too.
Because usually that kind of thing would be heavy-handed.
Yeah, it was nice to see it played very subtly, especially since it was obviously anti-religious.
Yeah.
Well, no, not necessarily, but the only religious character in your film is the antagonist.
Yeah, which
it could
has some subtle signs that Neill Blomkamp might have an anti-religious sentiment, which a lot of directors do.
Mm.
So, but until I see that in more of his work, I can't lock that in as something about him, or unless I hear an interview with him saying something, about religion, I wouldn't say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
But overall, I feel like the commentary of Chappie is supposed to be about the way children are raised in harsh environments.
Yeah, I can see
in
that.
broken homes and in poverty-stricken places. This does take place in Johannesburg in South Africa, but it could pretty easily be applied to a lot of American culture. But there was so much in the film that was about explicitly calling Chappie a baby, calling him a child over and over again. He was very clearly supposed to be analogous for a child. But what I liked about the movie is that it explains how a lot of times adults have issues dealing with children because they don't know what children are thinking or where they get their ideas from. They kind of expect children to be a carbon copy of what they are, which is very clearly what they were expecting from Chappie throughout the film. Everybody thought that Chappie was like a mini version of themselves when he wasn't. And when he turned out to not, like when he showed that, he learned principles and ideas and slang, whatever, from all the different people who are all influences in his life, people kind of got upset about it. Ninja didn't like all the morality stuff that he picked up from Dion and all the art stuff, but then Dion got all pissed when he saw him with the spray paint tattoos and the chains and talking about, what up, fuck mother? You know, he didn't like that either because he's like, that's not what I taught you.
Yeah.
So there was very clearly trying to talk about that issue when it comes to raising children, but it was also so much about how impressionable children are. Children, let's say, to like young to preteen teenager, because he was kind of supposed to be in that spectrum over the course of the movie. And it was all about how all these different people were putting all these impressions into him that were totally changing his personality and supposed to be corrupting him, let's face it. When it came to the fact that he was becoming physically violent, was hurting people, was killing people, was committing crimes, all this stuff. He didn't really mean to kill people, but I mean, I was shocked, like legitimately shocked at how brutally he beat Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
That was dark. And he was still breathing the last time we saw him. He wasn't dead, but he was broken.
Those blows would have killed the real person.
Yeah, when he kicked Hugh Jackman through a wall, that would have crushed his entire torso.
Yeah, even a guy of Hugh Jackman's size.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But despite the fact that I didn't like Antwoord being cast in the movie, there were so many little human moments that really added to the film to make it feel like it was supposed to be like a real life personal situation.
Yeah.
That made me really enjoy the movie. I liked it.
I thought the design was a bit daring.
Yeah, not what you would expect.
It's less expressive than pretty much any robot that I've seen that you're supposed to feel for. Yes.
Oh, I actually thought he was too expressive.
You thought he was too expressive?
The way his eyes would change shapes to make him look sad or to make him look angry. You know, he had that little bar that was supposed to be like his eyebrows. He learned somehow to talk in a higher, whinier pitch whenever he was sad or whenever he was, quote unquote, hurt. I don't know how hurt he could be physically.
Right. I'm just talking about the design, though.
Okay.
I'm saying that the design is a lot less expressive than most robots that I've seen in movies that you're trying to get that emotion from. You know, Johnny Five has more expressive eyes than Chappie.
Yeah, because they move.
Yeah, they move and...
Yeah, I can see that.
Or, you know, Wall-E, you know, has his eyes actually like tilt and are able to show his sad or happy expression by that.
Yeah. He is still way more expressive than the original Tetraval model from the short film. That I kind of guarantee that everyone who's listening to this has probably seen. If not, we'll include it in the description below, but it's a 1.5-minute movie.
Yeah, it's a 1.5 minutes. If you seriously don't have time for that, like, why are you listening to us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually did a lot to change the design of Chappie from that original model, and I also kind of didn't understand why they changed the Tetraval logo, even though they kept the same name.
It looked more corporate. So I think that's why.
I guess so, because the original one was 3 hexagons that fit together in a geometric pattern.
Yeah, that's...
It seemed more scientific labby.
Yeah.
Not something you would sell.
Yeah,
I guess that's true.
Which also adds why you complained that there was the Microsoft Windows in the program. Most tech places use Microsoft Windows.
That was a fair point that you made.
Yeah. And one thing that I will commend them is it wasn't clear which version it was.
Yeah, you only saw the Windows flag. That's all you saw. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I thought Hugh Jackman's character was totally unnecessary and could have been written out of the story until he shut down all the police units and, you know, all the scout units, and crime just broke out like crazy. Because it really shows what the world that Chappie's surrounded by is really like.
Yeah, well, it also shows that...
or like what it's kind of striving for. Like that's the idea that people around him are all kind of sharing.
Yeah, but it's also that notion is also extremely pessimistic because it's saying, oh well, if we just got rid of the police state, people would just do crime all over the place. Which, if you're somebody who leans towards the anarchist side, you'd probably get furious with that notion.
Yeah, from a political standpoint, it was very black and white.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And that is kind of an issue that I have with this film, because this film had very black and white issues versus stuff like District 9 and Elysium, which were a little bit more muddled. Now, Elysium was a lot simpler, but Neill Blomkamp himself has said that there were some issues with Elysium.
Yeah, that made me sad, though, because I enjoyed Elysium a lot.
I admire him as a director for admitting that he messed up.
Yeah.
Because we hardly hear any public figures admit that they messed up on anything, even though, especially on a work of art, not doing something stupid that you obviously know you shouldn't do.
Right.
But, actually, saying that a work of art that you did, messed up. Yeah. I'd love George Lucas to fucking say it, but that's never going to happen.
No, never going to happen. Yeah, Neill Blomkamp is someone I really admire because he tries to take he tries to bring issues to mainstream American masses that they probably haven't seen really realized in mainstream films.
Yeah. Using a bizarre band like Antwoord, I think, kind of ruins that. It's so unique to South. Yeah.
They overpowered everything else that the movie was really going for.
Yeah, because I get the thuggish nature and all that kind of stuff that they were exuding, but it's not even close to what that would be in the United States. Those guys walk into a neighborhood in Detroit or something like that, they get shot the second they walked on.
Yeah, the characters that they were supposed to be playing didn't fit them at all.
Yeah.
And so they kind of felt like they didn't even try. I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure they tried very hard. It was so awkward, the characters that were written in the script versus the characters that the actors were portraying in the movie. And I think that's where a lot of just the automatic turn-off is. Which makes me sad. The movie's a lot more than them.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue that makes the movie less accessible. Mm-hmm. Because, let's face it, a lot of people, once those characters pop up with their, the yellow gun and the pink gun.
Yeah.
At the very beginning.
Bright yellow and pink.
And with, this whole, pastel interior that they have inside their lair.
Everything is pastel. Everything is super cartoony. All their graffiti is all very childish and silly and whimsical and not thuggish.
Yeah, and not to mention the lead singer of the band has a super squeaky voice.
Your name's Chappie. I'm Mummy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. Probably why I liked America so much, is because you had these two super insane, extreme characters, and I just liked the guy who was playing it cool the whole time.
Yeah, also...
So, of course, he got the worst murder out of everybody in the whole movie.
Yeah, also, what the fuck? The black guy in their gang dies before he's even established as a character.
Right.
Black guy dies first. Typical sci-fi, black guy dies first.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that this movie definitely had... With that said, that, apartheid was such an important issue to him that he made short film. I think he made at least 1 or 2 short films, and then he made a feature film about it. But he can't get black people onto the main cast of his film.
Yeah, and...
Ever.
If it wasn't for Elysium having some really good Latino characters, I would call him out for this movie.
Right, but America and Dion weren't white.
Right.
But nobody was black either.
Even though, the movie takes place in South Africa, which is mostly white.
Right.
I will admit, but
it's just over the course of 3 movies, you can't have a major character who's black, really.
Yeah,
that's kind of harsh.
It's for Neill Blomkamp especially. I think it would benefit him to have at least one character. Doesn't even have to be a major character, though. I would encourage him
somebody who has speaking part, a
speaking part other than the Nigerian in District 9.
Oh, that's right. I guess there was that character. So there's one. There's been one in 3 movies.
Who was in this movie for a brief scene where they took all the PS4s.
Yeah, he spoke a few lines, I guess. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was one actor between 2 films.
Yeah.
That's still really low.
Yeah, and playing almost the exact same role, except less antagonistic.
Yeah. In this movie, he was just kind of there. He wasn't pro or con or anything. He was just a plot element.
Yeah.
Meh. So, overall, I really enjoyed it. I was shocked and touched a lot of the movie. And it did take a lot of things verbatim in terms of the script or in terms of what you saw on screen from the Short Circuit series and the Terminator series.
Yeah,
but I still enjoyed that. I was okay with it.
Yeah, the film's very derivative of sci-fi, similar to that vein. If you're interested in this sort of thing, I would highly recommend, if you haven't seen it already, to check out the movie Ghost in the Shell, because it is about an android trying to come to grips with her own self. Right. Self-awareness, and it gets into concepts of singularity, which I will give you some links about singularity. It would take a pretty good amount of time to explain singularity. But in short words, singularity is where the consciousness of something artificial becomes one with everything. Mm. It's a very hard philosophical idea. I know Kurzweil talked about it, but yeah, it's complicated.
I did really like the character Chappie became. The only thing is that the third person thing was obnoxious. But I liked the fact that he actually did. In the trailers, it looked like he could only say words that people said to him, like E.T. But very quickly, he starts saying his own things. And there are some issues with, how does he even know what the ideas of mommy and daddy mean? They didn't really explain that to him.
Well, he did connect to the internet.
Later, but not when, Yolandi was like, I'm Yolandi, I'm your mommy. Ninja is your daddy. He doesn't really understand what those concepts mean, but he did react emotionally to it. But there were a lot of issues like that throughout the movie, but overall, I liked his character a lot.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that to switch the consciousness from one body to another, he clicks the Y key, as in the Y of existence, which he brings up at least 2 or 3 times in the film with Dion. I thought that was one very simple thing that really tied that theme together in a visual way. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, or the Y for just yes.
Yes, you, that's what you thought. And it could go either way. But I thought that was a very nice, deliberate thing.
No.
And the only big complaint I have with the movie, besides Antwoord, is the fact that at the end they say that they're still looking for Chappie, and they show the clip of him, even though they found Chappie's dead body, so they probably think he's gone, or they probably should think he's gone, but even if they know that he's somehow in another body, he looks totally different.
Yeah.
So that was just a very weird plot element that just made no sense, thrown in at the very last second.
Unless there was something that they didn't add where they literally had audio footage of him saying, I'm Chappie or whatever.
Yeah. But that's not what it
Which that could have been a simple way to introduce the fact that, oh yes, they know that this new Tetra Ball robot is Chappie.
Right, but they didn't really say that, so.
Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I had a little bit more tonal issues than Casey, but...
That's okay.
Yeah.
Alright, well, let us know what you think. We'll write comments and responses below, but just let us know what you think and what you liked or disliked about the movie. Hello, and get everybody talking.
Yeah, you fuck mothers better do it too.
That's awesome. I'm just gonna keep saying that. Fuck mothers! Love it. I love that he never corrected that. Nobody said fuck mothers to him, ever. But he just kept saying that over and over again. I loved it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.